arms and his fingers and his, I don't know what I'm doing here. His arms and his fingers and his 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 army. They do his will. Like, they have no other choice to do his will, but they have their own personalities. Like, we have our own personalities. And I also feel like this is a thing for children of God. Like, we have like almost no choice but to do the Lord's will. And like, that's sort of like also culturally, like, in whatever way it is that we perceive him in our culture. It's like, uh, even though there is one God, okay, and there is the one and only God, right? I believe it to be the Jewish God, the Hashem. Like, that's the closest version to God, because, see, I've experienced him in a very sentient way, in a way where he responds to me, literally, like, responds to me, like, I ask for something and it will manifest. I ask a question and I will have an answer. I am in pain and he hears me. And other religions don't allow for that. And our God is so confident and so loving that, one, he responds to us. Two, he allows for us to have free will, that we can, I forgot what the next step is in makeup. Free will, I think it's like highlighter or toner or something like that. That he allows us for us to have like free will, and for us to choose to see him in a way that is appropriate for us, and even for us to choose not to see him, or to see him even in like the context of our culture, like Brahman and all that stuff. And all those personifications, which I actually like. I like the Hindu mythology because I think it's kind of like fun, and even all the other mythologies, like, there's such huge crossovers between angels and mythologies and all this stuff, and these are all just perspectives and people and ways that people have experienced them. And the thing is that when we experience God, we experience him through the filter of our own perspective. If you imagine like an angry God, you're gonna have an angry God. If you imagine a loving God, you're gonna have a loving God. But here's the thing. At first, I imagined an angry God, and he showed me that he was not an angry God. Showed me love and approval and patience, and has shown me miracles, things that are otherworldly. Has taken me to worlds and places, physically and in my mind, that I thought were just mythology. So I know that there is one God, and that he is my God. And those of us that are under the Judeo-Christian God are pretty close to that. He is the God. Okay, but I'm not taking anything away from him. Like, you experience him how you experience him. You experience him in Hinduism. You experience him in Buddhism. You experience him in Jainism. However it is, if he's positive and he exemplifies what God is, and that's a whole another thing. But anyway, so back to the language of Satan, right? So like, I've become pretty adept to the language of Satan, right? And that sounds really horrible, okay? But it's not, because you see, Judeo-Christian and like the Judeo-Christian concepts that we have now are actually pretty elementary concepts of religion and spirituality and God himself, And it's just like, there's a huge dichotomy. I'm not saying that Christ was wrong, but I'm saying that Christ introduced us to the idea of Satan pretty prevalently, and kind of ingrained it into the psyche of modern things, which reinforces a belief, which makes it a fact and a reality, because he did give us the element of creation. Okay, so, Christ wasn't wrong, which is what we needed at the time. Like, everything happens within an appropriate timeline for the Lord. So yeah, I got like 15 more minutes before this wedding. I mean, before this video. But anyway, so yeah, so I don't think I'm skilled enough to do this in talk. But yeah, so and makeup, that is. So yeah, like, where was I? I forgot exactly where. I forgot what my point was. All right. So the language of Satan, right? So Satan is our tester and our refiner, and some of us that are called to the duty of God, like, we have him really acutely, to the sense that to the outside world, it almost seems like psychosis, but it's not. It's that the world between worlds, like the Lord has like several worlds of before the physical world, I think that it's like either 4 or 5, right? And it's just like to me it's like 2, to me it's like 3, there's like heaven, like the throne of the Lord and God, right? And this is total merging with Him, right? And then there's like everything in between, which is like here. And when we begin to experience, like, you know, mystic experiences, you know, or otherworldly experiences, when we begin to have visions and see ghosts and see angels and other manifestations of divinity of God, you know. Anyway, so, you know, and it's a cute as in like, oh, you know, I walked by the pizza shop and I was tempted, you know, or well, it's a cute guy, I was tempted in like, you know, having sex with him and cheating on my boyfriend or my husband or something like that. And then there's like, oh my God, you know, things are happening, and you know, electronics are talking to me. People are like people that are of God have very acute things, and I've heard this from other people. You know, there was a man who was chased by like a demon entity in his apartment. That was kind of funny, you know, and I thought it was funny because I've had similar experiences, you know, and it's just like. And one of the things was like the goes, you know. So I started hearing go, 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 and all this stuff, and I'm like, I must be going nuts, you know. And I've had like all these other visions and stuff, and I mean, I sort of caught on pretty early, and that's the thing is that this testing will drive you nuts. Will either you challenge it and you see it and you overcome it, right? Or you give into it. And our mission is so intense, you know. And so it's a rigorous testing process, you know. And anyway, so it's just like, so I'm dealing with this obsession and overcoming this and like sort of like coming into my own understanding, you know, and empowering myself to speak about these issues, you know. And it's like one of the things that it keeps doing it is like, oh man, like I guess I still can't talk about it really, but my point is that you have to kind of, yeah, you lost it. That you have to kind of come to the point where you understand what your personal triggers are, and that first you accept that it's actually happening. Then you accept that no one is given to you. Like a lot of the people that are actually like of religious context, like they feel persecuted and paranoid. Like this is happening. These people, it's like, no. It's not some outside agency or anything else. It's God, it's Satan, it's whatever it is that you perceive as your challenger, you know. The Buddha dealt with demons, you know. He sat in meditation, he was challenged by demons to overcome demons, you know. He had to run from demons, you know. And I don't run from demons. Yeah, I know. I stand and I face. And that's the way you have to. Because a lot of times when you look into the eyes of your demons, when you look into the eyes of the things that are challenging you, and they're very personal to you, you will find what it is that you have to overcome, or what it is that you have to face in yourself to be the highest version of yourself. You know, if you feel unattractive, if you feel less than, if you feel poor, if you feel, I don't know, if you're obsessed, if you feel you need someone else, like the Lord would take you to a place where you don't. But you have to overcome these Satan manifestations. And like I said, the more spiritual you are, the more acute you will experience them within the context of whatever religious influence you've had in your life. And sometimes the Lord himself will come to you and he will call you from another religion. And you got to follow that. Free will, you know. Free will. I literally will have free will. For me, there's no other choice. You know, I can't go anywhere else. So yeah, like my point is you got to get adept to the language. Like it's a taunting and it's a teasing and it's a hard language, you know. But when you get past like the black and white and the fear, like you find that it's actually almost playful, you know. It's just like, oh, like I remember I was in the park, you know, and I was like, I can't do this, God. I can't face, I can't what it is that you want me to be, you know. And I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, like a cacophony of voices becomes one, you know. And there's people walking around, and they're all saying things to me, and they're all like, oh, you know, I'm too old, like my knees are bad, like all this stuff, you know. And it's just, I don't want to get into it because at first I don't want to influence anyone else's, you know. Everybody has their own language and their own challenges, you know. But basically, like, sort of regurgitating like a lot of the thoughts, and they're exemplified outside, you know. And it's almost like a dialogue. I'm like, God, stop playing with me, you know. And I felt that way. So this is my reflection on it, right? So I felt like, stop messing around with me. And it was like almost like he was teasing me. And so then you can see the vaster picture. You can break down the image of the one aspect of God that's speaking to you, Satan, right? And it's God. And you see like broader, right? You see there's God. And then this loving entity is playing with you. And what he's actually telling you is you're not too You're not too inarticulate. You're not uneducated. You're not any of these things. And it's just that. And it's not just that. I experienced there's a lot of things that are really private and personal that I don't want to share. But I experienced a hug the other day from the Lord. And it was like I was sitting there and I was feeling really bad. And he came in his. Maybe it wasn't. I don't remember what I was feeling beforehand. But I was just sitting there sort of in meditation. I think I probably was kind of feeling doubtful of myself, And I was hunched over and like this warmth came over me. And he told me a couple of things, just reaffirming that I'm not like a horrible person. And I felt so loved and connected to the divine. So there is a God. 2 things. Maybe 3 things. There is a God. He does speak to us. You have free will. You see him as you want, Saying I wouldn't be careful with the testing aspect and saying all these ideas, but I mean, testing is difficult and you do have to overcome it and you have to get to that point where, you're more than your physical, or you're willing to dabble outside of your physical, It's a process. It's not like I woke up one day and I was like, hey, hey everybody, That's not what happened. Like, it's taken me a really long time to even begin to talk about this in a personal context. God bless everyone. And literally, God loves you and he hears you. So call out to him, because he'll answer you eventually. All who knock, well, I remember, I was really bad at the quoting, but what was it Jesus Christ said? All who knock will have the door open, or all who knock will see. So please choose to see. God bless.